What's going on? It's Memorial Day weekend, and I'm taking a ride out to San Bernardino National Forest, and I want to capture a little footage on the way. It's mountains to every side and beautiful. And usually when there's trouble, you look for the mountains, and I'm looking at a place tonight 6,000 feet up on a lake, and I brought one of my good friends here.
Aloha.
And let's see if I got you in there. And we're looking at agricultural opportunities. That's where we see the market going. The whole economy is getting shut down, so a lot of plays in real estate, commercial real estate, and even a lot of residential real estate is not a real good opportunity right now, because the way I'm seeing it, the market's going to contract at least 20 to 30% in the next 6 months to a year. And, from my standpoint, it's hard to build up value when you're building into a contraction. So for right now, I am pulling back temporarily on residential plays, even though there are some good plays with manufactured homes out of hemp and other green building materials that are net zero. But for right now, I mainly see the breakdown in the supply chains causing major shortages in food and sustenance supplies. So we're driving out to meet, I'm not going to say exactly who with, but let's just say that in today's world, there's a lot of successful people looking for investment opportunities into especially hemp and somewhat cannabis. But hemp is the money crop, and one of the other guys I'm going to meet with is an expert at converting hemp, all of its different ways, into different cash supplies, everything from batteries to building materials to biofuel. So we're seeing that the way forward, look at it this way: when you own a business, most of the time you're counting on your labor to really drive the profits. Look at these incredible rock formations in the background here. You're really counting on labor or something, innovation to really drive profits. But when you work with the earth does the work for you for the most part. So your labor's getting done by the sun and the stars and the moon and water and all the elements that go into a successful grow. And that's also why I brought my buddy here. Sean is an expert at taking all grows and doubling, tripling the production, and also bringing to life the ley lines and an ancient practice called Vashtu, where you look at a property energetically and you basically build the property in a way that optimizes the energy flow, and that basically makes a huge difference. So he has a track record of taking, let's say, a mango tree that can't produce a single mango to, by the next season, a tree loaded with mango fruit. So that's the kind of level we're going with. Is from my standpoint, I know what I know what I don't know, and I look for the best of the best to fill all the gaps where I don't know better. So Sean, you want to tell them a little bit about your practice with Vashtu?
Yeah, sure. So it's definitely an ancient science. It's an ancient art, and there are energetics that encompass the entire surface of the planet, and there's a free flow of electrons that have been disrupted from these powers that be, that have figured a way how to control the major meridians or ley lines, so to speak, to pretty much sabotage us from receiving the beneficial frequencies of those energetic components that we could thrive in if we could anchor them
Watch out, vehicle stop.
and in our living environments, and be truly sustainable when it comes to agricultural purposes and methods that we could advocate and deploy food of the long-lived ancients by harnessing these energetics that encompass the entire surface of the planet. So we're going to take the geomagnetics that flow north and south, the solar magnetics that go east and west, the paramagnetics and granite, the diamagnetics in soil, and then of course using interton frequencies and magnetic soil basically to attract and radiate this beneficial energy into the environment that we're focusing on growing foods and dwelling. Vastu is the ancient Ayurvedic science.
So do you want to explain, like, when you, let's say, get hired to do, go to somebody's property, they have a lot of fruit trees and different things growing, but they're not really optimized as far as they're not producing very well. Can you kind of explain a little bit of your approach for how you go about approaching a property kind of from the top down, from the overview to the specifics?
So we know that the topsoil is virtually depleted here for a lot of reasons. I'm not going to get into what a lot of those reasons are, but suffice it to say that most agriculture, people know that the topsoil is depleted. So obviously we need some soil amendments to rejuvenate the soil. So we use things like ancient, potting soil, things like compost that has been composting from prehistoric swamps and forests for thousands of years, which are going to yield, humic acids, fulvic acids, natural sources of nitrogen production, and then combine that with like a basalt mineral to remineralize the soil, and using other soil amendments. So that's something that we've scouted for many years, me and my mentors, and we have access to these materials. So anchoring them into the earth is one thing. However, it goes back to the food, but it's really not the food that matters, it's the energetics of that food. Russian scientist Simeon Kirlian discovered that if there's an illegible electromagnetic field that surrounds living things and foods, that he would be able to capture that on a photographic plate. And so Kirlian photography is the manifestation of that biofield that allegedly surrounds not only us but also foods. And so
you treat the whole field of a plant
energetically. Yeah, we got to basically bring in the Vastu, and so that the soil amendments can behave in such a way where it's just congruent, it's in compliance with the natural source energy that is in the earth, and by radiating that energy into that environment, everything can go back into harmony. So that's essentially, in a nutshell, what I do. Is I already know the soil is virtually depleted. I don't have to do a soil test, but loamy soil is the holy grail of soil, which is a composition of clay, sand, and silt, and having the ideal percentages of those three to produce loamy soil, and using the soil amendments. But again, even if you have loamy soil and you have the soil amendments and the energetics are off in the environment, it's still going to be a nuisance and the quality of food that you're going to be able to produce, because you're going to constantly be having to till that soil and just work it.
So now, how do you objectively tell the quality of your produce? What's your standards as you go to know how well your tree is
Well,
performing?
you can use something as simple as like Dr. Brix invented the Brix meter, which has made its way around the world many times through his readings that are on a chart that basically generalizes the quality of your food using this Brix meter on a scale of poor, average, good, excellent, or disease-free quality. And so if you can simply grab the produce of that tree or anywhere else from the market or a farmer's market and squeeze some juice on that lens and look through the eyepiece to see where the quality of that food is. And most quality that I've tested is average, so now you're going to have average health as a result of that. But that's more so for the skeptical individual. I love to employ an art called quantum reflex analysis, which is applied kinesiology. It's a scientifically validated form that's being used in medical curriculum all over the world, and it was invented by a Japanese physician, Dr. Omura, back in the 70s, and he got a US patent for it in the 90s. And so this is a very eclectic art form of kinesiology and muscle testing the polarity of the energetics. So you could have too much positive or you could have too much negative, and there's really no instrument that can detect or show you the readings on those energies. So through QRA, through kinesiology, through precise muscle testing, you can actually see where you have weaknesses, and you can strengthen those weaknesses to create an ideal field to bring balance back.
Okay, so let's say you get a project and you're putting in all the soil amendments and you're doing all the things to the soil, but you notice that it's still not performing the way that you want. How would you address the energetics to make a difference?
That's a great question. There's a lot of things that can impede the energetics in the field, and being able to identify that through testing to see what's weak. You can strengthen those points with materials that are pretty exclusive and sacred, and can strengthen that area. But going to major ley lines and meridians on the property is something that you want to go to as well, and you can identify that again through testing. And usually these meridians intersect, and if you can find where that intersection point is and anchor these materials into those ley lines and turn that on, then you can strengthen the whole field. And if you can put a pyramidal type of substance in there, then you can really create a lush environment for things to thrive. But you got to get to the ley lines, you got to get to the impedances and things like cell phone towers, satellites, relay stations, high voltage, even the water lines, the electrical lines. The electrical is just a small part of it. But you can anchor all of that stuff and ground that energy and convert that energy over into good energy so that you're shimmering high cellular resonance.
So even if you had the nightmare of a cell phone tower being put by your property, you can still energetically remedy that?
Correct. You can take these pulsating energies and convert them over to a beneficial energy. Because all energy is good energy. It just acts as a dual. And most of the energy is being acted as a life-depleting energy.
So let's say, for instance, you had something that was creating, a positive charge, for instance, that was heavy positive. You could bring it back into equanimity, so to speak, by somehow balancing that charge so it's more balanced, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, definitely, because it's always about a balance. Every organ and gland in the body has to be balanced. Let's check to see where we're at.
Yeah, you know what? We're going to have to wrap up this video for now, but we're actually going to show you the applied science coming up here. We're going to watch Sean dig in on a property and actually demonstrate some of this. But for right now, I just want to introduce some of these concepts of applying ancient knowledge.
Like get this cell phone tower right here, for example.
Yeah, there you go. So energetically, you would have to deal with that cell phone tower. If you were approaching any properties in the area.
So you see, this piece of technology right here is extremely harmful, and so let's say that if you look at the base of that, the foundation, right, it may be all concrete, and so everything is completely ungrounded over there, and the individuals that are in this area are going to be the ground, so they're going to be absorbing all this chaotic static energy, congesting key organs and glands. What we can do is we can actually anchor that and convert the harmful energetics, the depleting energetics from that, and to a beneficial field, and get a nice little treatment from it.
Wow.
Rather than having to remove that structure, which we wouldn't be able to. It would be ideal to
really ground it.
convert it over. Correct, they're grounding it.
So there we go. So now these are practical solutions to our everyday problems that really start on an energetic level. And if you tune into some of my other videos, Qigong, Tai Chi is all about balancing your own energetics, and that's something you could apply. But the environment you're in is also a major factor. So this is going to be a cutting edge opportunity for people to learn these kind of skills of how to deal with these chaotic energies. So that's all I have for now, but thank you for tuning in, and we'll give you a much more in-depth analysis about these points at another time. All right, you guys have a good one. Take care.